You know, I've been playing a lot of FNAF lately, and all this spooky, killer robot stuff is fun and all, but I think I need a palate cleanser. Something brighter, more upbeat. A comfort game that also enables my tendencies to live in a constant state of denial regarding the things I love the most ending. What? Why are you looking at me like I'm about to? Steven Universe Unleash the Light! The latest, and probably last game in the Steven Universe Light trilogy of RPGs by Grumpy Face Studios. I've talked about the other games a few times, but I've yet to tackle this one, cause, you know, FNAF. But I think I'm finally ready to hop back into the world of Steven Universe and see how this trio of games ends. But first, speaking of RPGs, I gotta give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, Summoner's War. This is one of the most popular RPGs you can find on the Google Play and App Stores with over 110 million downloads. And right now, the game is celebrating its 8th anniversary and... Wait, really? Last time I talked about Summoner's War was the 7th anniversary. Has it already been a year? Oh god. Yeah, as I was saying, Summoner's War! It's all about collecting and summoning monsters to use in these super strategic turn-based battles. And there are a lot of monsters. Like over 1,000. Look at all these! It's insane! Plus, the game's boasting nearly endless content, with plenty of different dungeons, weekly in-game events, and sky islands that you can customize however you want. And to celebrate the game's 8th anniversary, Summoner's War is holding a big anniversary event that'll grant you 8th anniversary coins to trade for in-game rewards and almost unlimited monster summons for the chance for you to hunt down the exact one you want. The game's already got a lot to explore, but this anniversary event just makes it an even better time to hop in and start your adventure. So if any of that sounds cool to you, or you just like the gameplay you're seeing on screen, you can check out Summoner's War by clicking the top link in the description. And you can use the code SW8thBirthday for even more in-game rewards. That's SW8TH birthday. Try it out, have some fun, and support my channel in the process. I'd really appreciate it. Major thanks to Summoner's War for sponsoring, and now let's get back to Steven. But I gotta warn ya, Steven Universe Unleash the Light takes place immediately after the finale of the original Steven Universe series, bridging the gap between that show and things like Steven Universe the movie and Steven Universe Future. So there will be spoilers here for the games and the show, but I don't want to waste too much time. So basically, in the show, Steven helped 3 alien dictators realize they need therapy, and they said, okay. And then, in the games, the gems fight this ultra-powerful gem weapon called a prism, which was controlled by Hessenite, a war general from the gem homeworld. But then Steven was like, look inside your heart, you idiot. And the prism decided not to be a weapon anymore, Hessenite decided not to be evil anymore, the gems had a pizza party, and that's pretty much it. Now that we're all caught up, here's Steven Universe Unleash the Light. The game starts on Homeworld, where Steven is hanging out with the Diamond's various pearls, pink, blue, and yellow, and talking about his plans for this new era of peace for the gems. But then one of them says there's still the matter of the prisms. Yeah. Prisms, as in more than one. Apparently, there have been 3 prisms this entire time, and just no one thought it was important to mention. Obviously, one of the prisms was owned by Hessenite, but the others are currently owned by the gems Pyrope and Demantoid. The Pearls tried to contact them about deactivating their prisms, but never heard anything back. So, Garnet, Amethyst, Pearl, and Steven all head out to investigate. They take a warp to this gigantic, fancy prism palace, and almost immediately, Pyrope and Demantoid appear on, like, floating FaceTime screens, and they're like, oh, it's you. Very productive conversation. So, the gems are left with no choice but to get inside the palace and confront Pyrope and Demantoid in person. But there's this big rainbow door in the way that they can't get past on their own. Just then, completely out of nowhere, Hessenite's old prism shows up to just say hi to the gems. In all their soul searching since the end of the last game, they've developed a new form and new name for themselves. So, this is George. They look like a squishmallow, and they've decided to tag along with the gems to help with their mission. Or at least, that's what it looks like. George talks in this prism language that only Steven seems to understand, so the gems are just kinda, taking Steven's word on all this. But George does help out by opening up the rainbow door so the gems can enter the palace. And of course, it's not that long before they get tossed into some battles. So now I think is a good time to give a quick rundown of Unleash the Light's gameplay. Like I said, it's a turn-based RPG, just like the last game, but where Save the Light was developed for consoles, Unleash the Light was developed for mobile first and came to consoles later. So things have been a bit simplified. Instead of running around big, expansive locations, the stages are broken up into much shorter levels that you explore by just jumping from screen to screen. No more Steven falling to his doom this time. unfortunately. However, the battles themselves are basically untouched. It's still turn-based, moves still cost points to perform, and you still have to press buttons at the right time to block or do more damage. You know, Paper Mario. There are a couple of new tweaks, but it still feels very much the same as the other games. It even brings back some of the sound effects and music from that game, so I kinda got into the swing of things pretty quick. So the gang keeps spreading their message of peace by killing everything that gets in their way, but eventually they reach a roadblock. Oh, that was my ringtone. Don't ask me why my ringtone is Aaron Hansen yelling, "Yeah, boy." Just don't question it. I forgot to put my phone on silent. Let's keep going. But eventually they reach a roadblock. Yes, another big rainbow door, but this time they're gonna need 3 matching keys to open it. Pearl just casually hacks into the mainframe to find out where Demantoid is hiding, and then she pieces out to gather more info, while the rest of the gems head out to follow that lead to Demantoid and collect the rainbow keys. And because the game says we can't have less than 4 characters in our party, the gems are now joined by Lapis, which is pretty cool, because she was one of the few gems you couldn't actually play as in the last game. And oh my god, I mean, look at this. Lapis's attack is insane. She's wiping enemies out in like 2 hits. Jesus. So with the new team assembled, the gems start tearing their way through level after level, beating up enemies, solving puzzles, and doing side quests along the way. And eventually, Pearl catches back up with the gems to share what she's learned about Pyrope and Demantoid. Apparently, these two saw Steven dismantle the Diamond's empire, and instead of embracing their new freedom, they decided that this was the perfect opportunity to swoop in and become the new gem dictators. And because they both got prisms, they just might have the power to do it. And thus, Pyrope and Demantoid become the latest in a long line of potential war criminals that Steven has to give a stern talking to. Dang it. You realize this is an RPG, right? We have to fight things? Like 8 whole stages go by before the gems realize, oh, Demantoid's not here. And then hop to another planet for more stages, more battles, more killing in the name of peace. Oh, speaking of killing in the name of peace, look, Bismuth is here. She heard about everything going on with the prisms and decided to help out, even bringing this box. She brought a box. This is the prism containment chest, which I'm sure you can tell is meant to contain and deactivate prisms. So, you know, I'm sure we'll find a purpose for that eventually. In the meantime, Bismuth joins the team and subsequently breaks the game. Not only does her main attack hit multiple enemies at once, but she can also mine for materials and craft buffs for the rest of the team, including one that cuts the points required to attack in half. Needless to say, I mainly used Bismuth for the rest of the game. Several stages later, and the gems finally catch up to Demantoid. And she's like, "You guys are lame, your prism is dumb, I will now do a kill on you." And we launch into a boss fight. But I employed my strategy of use Bismuth all the time, and Demantoid went down pretty quickly. Bismuth breaks out the prism containment chest only to be attacked, dropping the box, leaving Demantoid free to steal it, and here the game gives me a choice. I can either knock the box out of Demantoid's hand, or I can protect Bismuth by attacking the prism. Now, what I probably should have done was protect Bismuth. It seemed like, you know, the moral thing to do. But in a moment of panic, I instead chose to knock the box out of Demantoid's hands. Meaning, yeah, we did get the box back, but Bismuth... Ooh, yeah. Yeah, she got poofed. And I know that might seem like a big deal, but Lapis has been getting poofed during pretty much every battle, and she always comes back just fine. So ultimately, I think I made the right choice here. So with Bismuth now taking up residence in Steven's backpack, she'll be fine. The gems, now joined by Connie, follow another lead to track down Pyrope and Demantoid. They wind up on one of Blue Diamond's old colony planets, which seems to still be controlled by Pyrope. Just a whole lot of not much happens for a while. Just more stages, more battles, more bosses, and wait, weren't we supposed to be collecting rainbow keys or something? Oh yeah, I kind of forgot about that. It was kind of like the whole thing we were doing, wasn't it? Well, I've been playing for a while now. We needed 3 rainbow keys, and over the course of the game, I've collected, 20. Didn't even notice. Guess we should head back to the palace then, just see what happens. The gems warp back to the palace and unlock that big rainbow door, only to be met by another door. Oh, and Hessenite, how'd you get here? Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. That's not Hessenite. That's a mysterious, nameless vigilante gem who just happens to sound and look just like Hessenite, here to help the crystal gems in secret. Not Hessenite shows up throughout the palace to give the gems super useful hints, such as you can unlock this door with a key, and open treasure chests sometimes if you feel like it, and don't you go asking questions. The gems just kind of let this all happen, then awkwardly get on with their mission, and finally they reach Pyrope's room. And Pyrope's like, oh, you stupid, 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 stupid. Yeah, for the big bad of the game, Pyrope went down easy. But anyone who's ever played an RPG knows there's never just one final boss. Nah, games like these aren't over until you fight some kinda otherworldly god creature. And would you look at that? Demantoid shows up, captures George, and forces a fusion between them and the other prisms, creating this gigantic, multi-armed angel of light. Now that's a final boss. So it's the gems against Pyrope, Demantoid, and the light monster. But they're not alone, because that mysterious vigilante gem shows back up and reveals herself to be Hessonite. Oh wow, what a surprise. But this is cool. We're really seeing how Hessonite's changed since the last game. Not only is she now fighting on the gem side, but she's clearly disgusted at how Pyrope and Demantoid are treating the prisms. It's really cool how these games genuinely are a connected saga of Steven Universe stories. You don't always get that with these kind of licensed games. Oh, right, fighting God. I almost forgot. Honestly, this fight wasn't all that tough either, but that might just be because I saved up a ton of items and just spammed my Bismuth strategy over and over. Yo, I forgot to mention, Bismuth reformed. Told you she'd be fine. And after knocking out all their health, Steven starts talking to the prisms. He's like, look inside your heart, you idiot, to help the prisms realize they don't have to be weapons anymore. It's a strangely familiar ending, as if there are two other Steven Universe games that end the exact same way. But to be fair, they do flip things on their head a bit, because this time, Steven trying to talk sense into the prisms doesn't actually work. But then Hessonite steps up to the plate and has a heart-to-heart with George specifically. She apologizes for how she treated them over the years and displays just how much she's changed. This really affects the prisms, leading to the big light monster disassembling and leaving Pyrope and Demantoid completely defeated. They start fighting with each other and accidentally poof themselves like idiots. The other prisms are set free just like George. Hessonite decides to stay at the palace and undo the wrongs committed by Pyrope and Demantoid, and the gems all head off for more adventure. And that was Steven Universe Unleash the Light. Pretty solid game. Yeah, it wasn't quite as exciting or expansive as Save the Light, and I did miss the extra locations and variety that game had. But all things told, this is still an enjoyable RPG that continues to just hit the nail on the head when it comes to capturing the Steven Universe vibe. And that's pretty much all I'm looking for with games like this. There is a DLC chapter about Square It Out returning, but it doesn't really play into the main story. And there's another mode that's basically just endless randomized battles. But for my purposes, yeah, the game's over. So I guess there's nothing left to say except, do you think Grumpy Face would add me in as a DLC character? Like if I asked really nice, make me canon, Grumpy Face!